Welcome to the Your Illini Nation pregame show, live from Las Vegas. Bret, Beherns, and Derek Piper here. We are on the iconic Las Vegas Boulevard. Just to the side of it, you can see New York, there behind us, Planet Hollywood, the Eiffel Tower there. We're right across the street from the MGM, getting ready for Illinois and Virginia today in the championship game of the main event. Derek, how are you feeling after a weekend in Vegas, my man?
Feeling good.
All
Just
right.
over at the Sportsbook. Nice contingent of Illini fans. Loud roar, Darnell Mooney touchdown early in that Bears-Falcons game. But
there you go.
Ready for some hoops, more high-level hoops today. Title belt on the line. That's a pretty cool championship trophy, so to speak, to give to the winner today. And it's a really interesting game, once again, and a big one for Illinois as far as resume goes. And win this game, you definitely top 10 in the country when the poll comes out tomorrow.
Pretty cool stuff that Illinois has been able to play so well here early on in the season. And a tough test. Many people probably thought they'd be playing Baylor today if Illinois was fortunate enough to knock off UCLA on Friday. We'll take a look back at that game. I'm going to tell you, wherever you're watching from, it is sunny here. We got the shades on. The sun is right behind us here. Palm trees. It doesn't suck.
Does not stink.
It's
no.
like 20 degrees back home. You know what? We're doing all right.
I brought the coat. Didn't need it.
You're not going to need it.
We wake up early. It says like 45 degrees, and you walk out and heats up, just like I did at Stadium Swim yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. We had a good time over at Stadium Swim watching the Illini put a scare into Michigan. That's for sure. Good media contingent there back from home gathered together. But it's work today, Derek, as we get ready for this matchup. And like you mentioned, a lot on the line for Illinois early on to go 5-0. But I think more importantly, just gain some more national attention. If they could win today, and it's a pick 'em at last check, look, like you said, a top 10 team already, I feel like would be a lot of momentum for this program. Still searching for a little bit of an identity, but Terrence Shannon Jr. showed, I think, on Friday night that he is the identity. It starts and ends with him.
Yeah, absolutely. To have 29 points, hit 8 threes, tie a school record, and a lot of NBA attention on this event where you've got assistant GMs and representatives from a number of teams in the building because you got a number of projected draft picks. He looked as good as anybody out there on Friday, and it might be playing his way into definitely deserves to be on mock drafts, maybe even in the first round as he continues this surge here early on in the season. But, yeah, I think that for Illinois, with so many new pieces and new play style, most people probably would have went in and said, if we go 1-1, you beat a team that's probably top 10, top 15, you lose one, you wouldn't really hurt as far as your resume or even your AP poll ranking. Teams like this don't usually start as fast with so many new pieces. You think about Michigan last year. Michigan came out here, got drubbed by Arizona. You think about Texas, who had who just did a ton of work in the portal, but it didn't click right away. So if Illinois, while there's going to be highs and lows, and there definitely wasn't even in that UCLA game, if they can get off to a really fast start and set up, you can't look too far ahead, but you could set up that Illinois-Texas matchup that Jimmy V would be one of the marquee National League games, the non-conference. Illinois wins today. Texas obviously smashed Gonzaga earlier this week.
Yeah, that was a crazy final. I did not expect that to be 25-plus points like it was to finish that way. But let's not look too far ahead. Let's take a quick look back at Friday and get some thoughts from you, Derek. Terrence Shannon, a double-double at halftime. But Illinois down 15 with 18 minutes to play, and you thought, this UCLA team ranked 8th in the country. A lot of playmakers. We talked about Tiger Campbell and Jaime Jaquez and their talented freshmen. And yet, what impressed you most, or what was the reason behind it, in your eyes, on why they were able to make that comeback?
I think it was their defense, and really in that first half where it was pretty even early on. And Illinois had some really ugly stretches offensively, but so did UCLA because of the way that Illinois was pressuring the ball. They were switching. Now, they got caught late in that first half in some bad switches. Jaquez got on some smaller defenders. He was doing work there in the mid-post. But the effort and energy level at the defensive end, and then I know that Brad mentioned it first thing off the bat in the post-game press conference, throwing Sincere Harris in there early second half when you're down 15, and to be able to cause some turnovers. Tiger Campbell really got sped up and got loose with the ball, and to be able to get some quick and easy baskets in transition, got the momentum going, got the crowd going, which was just phenomenal. I'm excited to see how that runs back today. Maybe they can wipe the sleep out of their eyes and get things going early on here. It's the morning here in Vegas, but yeah, I think that defensively, just that their effort level never never dwindled, even though offensively it was getting a little ugly. And then, of course, Shannon takes over. And that second half, what was fun about it was just such a collective effort. Everybody chipped in a number of different ways. Matthew Meyer had his best game as an Illini so far. The freshman guards played a lot better there in that second half. Sky Clark with the impressive and one, the reverse finish. And I thought Jaden Epps was tough and did some good things too. So there's a lot of positives there in that second half. It's just riding the highs and lows. And you can't have the same amount of turnovers, though, today because Virginia, as we'll talk about, really disciplined team. They won't turn it over themselves. At least they didn't against Baylor. And you have to be a little bit more solid today offensively.
And it surprised me in that Baylor game how many points Virginia scored. I mean, You think of Virginia as this, slow ball type of team, and historically have been that, low possessions and grind it out. But they were able to score a bunch of points against Baylor on Friday night and deservedly picked up the win. So what do you do here with Sincere Harris? Brad said he didn't even, I don't think he played in the first half. Brad said he kind of just lost him on the bench, didn't get him in the rotation there. I think he's earning a lot more minutes here. And do you continue to play that more, full court, hard-nosed defense from the start even today?
I think you could look to it early. It doesn't have to be something only when you're down. It's kind of that gauge of, I know that Brad has talked about, all of our pressing isn't just to create turnovers, isn't just to try to sell out for those, but at times they can dial it up and really be aggressive and go for those traps. I love the look of Sincere and Coleman at the forefront of that press because we know that Coleman is really mobile, long, and lengthy, and then Sincere's just tough as nails, athletic, quick twitch athlete, and just has a nose for the ball defensively. So I think we'll see him in the first half here today. Now, it'll be interesting because there were times when UCLA actually did break the press where it gives you a numbers advantage for the offense against your defense to get back. So I think that it'll be interesting because Virginia doesn't want to play fast, but then again, they handled it pretty well against Baylor, who was really aggressive defensively. They switched just like Illinois, and Virginia was pretty composed and ran their stuff and actually got good shots and very productive.
What's the next step for Illinois today? Obviously winning, but like you mentioned turnovers, they had 13 in the first half Friday night. You can't do that again. Like it's not sustainable, the amount of turnovers that they're having to be a successful team long term. But what are a couple of the things that you look after Friday night and their first major test, right? That's what we built this up as. That's what Brad built this up as. I mean, it is what it was. That hey, we didn't know much about this team, how they would handle that adversity. So what things do you think they worked on to correct yesterday coming into a game today to take those even more secondary steps in a high major game?
Yeah, turnovers first and foremost, being able to take care of the ball and understand that you can't be too sped up. You want to be aggressive. You want to get shots earlier in the clock, but you got to be able to be just a lot more sound and have your guards take care of the ball. Coleman had 5 turnovers. He's got to be more solid there. I think Coleman is a big key too because he's had some slow starts here in the first halves. He could do a really big thing for Terrence Shannon, take some pressure off his shoulders because we're going to see more and more as Shannon continues to produce. And I think this is a big key going forward, that having some other guys be able to step up and carry that load to where Virginia's a great defensive team. If you don't think that Tony Bennett's looking at film and showing his guys all the different ways that they're going to cheat off of this guy to help on Shannon's drive and do some things to make him uncomfortable, that's definitely going to be happening. So Coleman's got to be able to be a little bit more of a scoring threat, a little bit more solid. I think defensively, and one good adjustment in that game was that they were a little more selective with their switches. Understand that, look, we switch a guard onto a big here. That's not a good look for us. So that's kind of just having a feel and a recognition defensively of when to switch. You don't have to do it every single time. And then when you do get in a situation where Sky's down on the big man, how do you then rotate to take that away? Those are just things that as you get more cohesion and more reps defensively in games, that should come along more quickly. But early on in the season, know you're facing Virginia, know you're getting some tough tests here in the next couple of weeks. Figuring that out could really take them to another level.
Are you good with them switching the way they do? I know that's very unique in that sense, right? Or somewhat unique to do what they do. So, is it successful long term? And did Friday night give you some encouragement about that?
Yeah, I like it. I think that there are going to be some teams where you don't want to switch on the 1-5 pick and roll switch because you usually have the big man come out on the ball screen. He goes down on the roll, and if you're switching that every single time and having your point guard, whether it be Sky or Epps, go follow the big man down there, it could put you in a tough situation, especially if you don't have help from the wing. Now, the good thing is with Matthew Meyer, with Melendez, with some of your guys in that 3-4 range, they could come down and kind of chip the big a little bit and just show some help there. So I think that's the one area where I'm still a little tentative and trying to figure out how much they should do that. But the good thing with Coleman, as far as the flip side of that, I don't have any problem with Coleman switching on to anybody really because of the way he moves. So and in general, for teams that want to, and Virginia's very much of trying to run guys off screens, trying to create good angles, switching takes away your advantage, your driving lanes, because you don't give them the angles that they want to create off of those screens.
Right. Matthew Meyer, you mentioned him, and his stats weren't necessarily great. I think he was 3 for 8, but he did score 11 points. Felt like he got into a little bit of a rhythm. You could see the confidence coming out of him when we were sitting there watching in the arena. And after the game, we haven't talked to him in a while, and he seemed to be confident. The stage is not too big. We knew that already about Matthew Meyer. But how did you feel like he has progressed here after 3 games against mid-major teams that weren't particularly strong?
Right, and then early on in that game for him to step up and make 2 threes, and for Illinois to have so many new guys, that was a moment of being on the floor against a top 10 team that really is not going to shake Matthew Meyer. It's something that he's very used to being at Baylor. He's played in a ton of big moments, ton of big games. So for him to give you that early spark was great to see. And then I just thought his toughness and energy level defensively was at a heightened sense versus what we saw early on first week and a half of the season, where he's in there battling for rebounds. He made some good passes, had 5 assists, and I just think he was a little bit more engaged and definitely flipped that switch and turned it on. I know you had a really good question to Brad about how is Brad and the staff navigated things with him, and they want him to be more consistent and bring it every day. Again, he's working off the back injury, so that certainly provided a hindrance to that, getting a rhythm and just trying to be 100% physically each and every day. But I think for him to have that confidence, see the ball go in, is going to be a big value, and then at the same time on the defensive end to be able to bring a little bit more of that pop and energy is a big thing. Yeah,
I thought it was interesting that Brad said that he has even higher expectations than a lot of Illini fans here walking around. There we go. I will say this, Derek. There's a way more orange and blue here than I thought there'd be. I don't know if I had an expectation. Maybe 2017 wasn't fair because it was Brad's first year. Although, there's some excitement with a new coach the last time we were out here. But, man, Illini Nation has shown up in a big way. That place was loud. It was a home game Friday night for Illinois. It really was very, very loud at T-Mobile Arena. We are heading there here very shortly. But
it was as much of a home court advantage as if you were playing at the United Center.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much of a home court advantage that had been for Illinois
as
the
what
last
it used to be
5 years. Yes.
And that kind of a deal.
Back 20 years ago when they did that. And, you think back to the mid-2000s when they were playing at United Center, and that place was full, no doubt. Get back to Matthew Meyer. I thought it was interesting that Brad said he has higher expectations than even maybe Matthew does for himself. I think Brad sees the potential of what Matthew is, what he has done. And I just, this is me talking, but I think, hey guys, but I think that just frustrates the heck out of Brad because he knows it's there. But that's why Brad is a coach. That's what coaches do. You're trying to get the most and maximize your players. But that's just kind of my take on what Matthew has been so far. And Brad did say in practice it's been there. Why it hasn't translated to the games, by and large, I don't know.
Right. Similar to Terrence Shannon, where you see guys that were really good role players in the Big 12, and they obviously had higher aspirations for what Shannon could be within their team as an alpha dog, go-to guy, put the ball in his hands a lot more, and we're seeing Shannon produce and live up to high expectations internally. I think they have a similar vision for Matt and how the way that his game can progress now and what should be more of a starring role. You hope that he plays into that and fits into that. So, this was a guy like Terrence that was at the NBA Combine for a reason last year and has had some NBA eyes on him. So that is where it kind of factors in of hey, this is your last year in college. Why not, another deep run in the tournament for yourself, but be even more of a focal point and show out for the next level. And hopefully this was the start of doing that.
No doubt about it. We'll see how he progresses today and if he can take that next step. A couple other concerns. What'd you make of R.J. Melendez? Only played a couple of minutes in the second half. Brad was on him in the first half, in his face, letting his displeasure known for his sophomore not hustling back on the defensive side.
Yeah, defensively, he just didn't have that type of engagement that the rest of the team seemed to have, especially there in that second half when they got a little desperate and needed it. And for RJ, he only played 3 minutes in that second half, so it really wasn't a factor down the stretch. And I think his decision-making offensively, I think he's early on in the season, and not even just in that game on Friday, he's tried to force some things. And Brad's mentioned, he's pressing a little bit, trying to understand that he's got a bigger role this year and trying to fit into that. So for him, it's just trying to settle in, be aggressive, but not force things. And yeah, defensively, I mean, that's a non-negotiable.
Right.
Playing with extreme effort and being all over the place. You don't do that, you're going to have your head man in your face.
Yeah, Brad's made that very clear throughout his time here that if you're not defending, you're not going to be on the court by and large. We've covered Terrence, and maybe that is a little bit, Derek, of like, okay, Terrence is showing what he can do, and maybe that like leads into Brad wanting, hey guys, how we doing? Like, it's easy to compare, right? Like you said, 2 role players. Terrence is balling out. Matthew is not. We'll see how that all fits together. I'm such a believer that Matthew is going to be a huge reason why Illinois wins or loses a lot of games this year. I'm in that camp that like he has to play well for this team to fully maximize his potential. But has anything surprised you about Terrence? I mean, 20-plus points in every game, 29 coming off his 30-point game before that. Like, is this what you thought Terrence Shannon could be?
I thought it was maybe within the realm of possibility as a guy that could really we tabbed him. I think most people expected him to be the leading scorer. Sure. I thought he'd be an all Big Ten first team type of guy. And with the volume of shots that he was getting, he could put up 18, 20 points a game. Now he's like upper of 25. Woo. And he's close to pushing 30, if not pushing 30 every night so far. I think the big thing for me that's impressed me is his passing. I think as far as someone that hasn't had the ball in his hands a whole lot in terms of creating off the dribble, they've used him in the past in college. He's been a spot-up shooter and someone that is going downhill, straight-line driver, and someone you hit in transition. So when it gets into the half court and you put him in a ball screen, he's just had so little experience doing that, and he didn't have great success if you look at kind of the analytics and the numbers at Texas Tech when he was put in those situations. So I think he's just been a lot more comfortable. They repped that a ton during the offseason. I know Tim Anderson worked with him a bunch on his dribble moves, seeing the floor better, having the game slow down for him. So that's been really encouraging. That's been a big difference from the player we saw at Texas Tech till now. He's also a lot healthier. And I know that Fletch has worked with him, and he's been able to – they feel like he's more flexible, more durable right now. And the way he gets downhill, I knew he was an explosive athlete. Another thing, as far as surprise goes, I didn't realize he was that fast. Like, I knew he was someone that was strong, that was going to rise above the rim and throw it down. But getting end-to-end, the fact that I asked Brad after the Monmouth game, like, how does him and Io compare in terms of end-to-end speed? And for Brad, I know Brad –
he didn't want to do that.
Felt like I put him in a tough spot.
He did. But I don't mind it. He was like, I can't compare.
If you take him at his word, he said they're similar in speed. And from what I've seen, the way that Terrence can get from one side of the court to the other is comparable.
He looks faster than Io. Io was like sneaky fast in my eyes.
Yeah.
Or, it didn't seem like Io was ever doing anything fast, although
he was just gliding.
Yeah, I like that word. He was gliding. It's like he was floating a little bit, Like, that's just Io. But Terrence, to me, like, dude looks like he's going fast.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't know if any of that makes sense on a difference, but just from our level on the court, it is different. I do feel like they are a little bit different. Hey guys, more orange and blue here, walking to the game on Las Vegas Boulevard. This might be our coolest place for a pregame show for basketball. I don't know.
I agree.
You
hard to live up to.
You and Andy will be in New York here in a couple weeks.
Might not want to be outside for that one. If we're outside standing,
no, you have to find some place to shoot
tough.
that one. Yeah, but I'm gonna go. This one's pretty cool. Warner and I, for football in San Francisco, enjoyed that one.
Mm-hmm.
But
I had a good one with you guys in Grand Canyon.
Oh, that's
back.
right. Yeah,
that
in Arizona. That was cool too. I like that one a lot. But I don't know. What beats Vegas though? Like
nothing. No,
legitimately, we are here. What beats Vegas on the Las Vegas Strip? I don't know that much does. As we wrap up here and get ready for the game, we're going to head down to T-Mobile Arena where the Illini are set to play in about an hour. Derek, from right now, they will be on the court. It is about almost 11 a.m. here, right?
Yep.
So a couple hours behind everyone back home in Central Illinois or wherever you're watching.
Weird to see college football kick off at 9
yesterday,
right? And NFL at 10.
Yeah, the
bright and
NFL
early.
this morning, it's like, oh, the Bears are on. It's 10 a.m., like you just woke up not too long ago. But, West Coast time. It's all good.
Right.
All right, what can we expect out of Virginia today? We saw them on Friday night against Baylor and beating the Bears. As you look at the Cavaliers, what do you see, Derek?
We've talked about the confidence that Terrence has been playing as a transfer. Armand Franklin, who transferred to Virginia last season from Indiana, just had a career high 26 points against Baylor, played outstanding against the Baylor defense. That's pretty good. Good athletes, they switch, and he really gave them all he could handle. Matched up against Keontae George as a projected lottery pick. So I think Franklin is a guy that Illinois has to slow down on that side. Okay. The way that Virginia executes offensively, again, it's a one-game sample size, but Baylor was not able to make them all that uncomfortable with switching, with pressuring the ball as much as they do, and we'll see how they respond to Illinois' full-court pressure and that whole kind of thing. But Virginia's just going to be really, really sound. It's kind of the thing you say year in and year out about Tony Bennett teams. They don't turn the ball over. They don't make a whole lot of self-inflicted mistakes. And defensively, they're just really stout and sound, especially as you get into that paint. Like do a really good job of being physical in there, of having size. They've got within their 4 and 5 guys. They bring Vanderplas off the bench, who's 6'8". They got a 7'1" guy off the bench, and then Caden Shedrick is the 5-man who's 6'11", long. He kind of compares to Coleman in that he's mobile, long, and can move really well. I just think Illinois is going to have to probably make some threes because of how well they collapse inside, and then they're definitely not going to be able to turn the ball over, because one thing, they will capitalize on mistakes. You probably can't turn over Virginia as much. And if you get in a situation, Baylor found this out yesterday, if you're in a hole and the way that Virginia controls the tempo most times, it's hard to come back from 15 down, 12 down. You don't want to put yourself in that kind of circumstance.
Yeah, and I don't know that Illinois can count on Terrence Shannon Jr. hitting 8 threes every game. I mean, good for him to be able to do that. He literally almost didn't miss, 8 for 9. Incredible effort for him tying a program record for threes made in a game. But, you're going to have to get somebody else to make some threes, because it's likely not going to be 8 from TJ every game.
Right. I know Coleman's capable. It's been a while since we've really seen him get going since the opener.
That 23-point performance in the opener seems like a little ways away from now.
It definitely does. And we saw him hit 5 threes that night, but it's been a struggle for him as far as scoring since then. Matt made some. I think if he continues to step up and do it, RJ, it's been a while. You're going to want him doing that. And I think just looking at the depth of Virginia, and Illinois obviously has a number of guys they can bring in off the bench. Whoever gets a better bench effort, I think that's going to be also a big key, where you have Isaac McNeely, who's a top 50 freshman for them, good shot maker. Vanderplas can make shots for them as well. And then on the Illinois side, we haven't mentioned him today, Dane Danger continues to be awesome.
How about
Feed that
him?
Guy more.
Yeah, no doubt. 6 for 6 on Friday night. What's his season total? Is he he's hitting 90% of his shots.
Yeah, someone mentioned the post game on Friday that he's 30 for 35 from the field.
I mean, that's incredible. Now, a lot of it is right around the rim, but it's the same thing. You got to make the shot, and Kofi had the same, thing right around the rim. But good for him, man. All the work he's put in, his 3rd year of college basketball, right, and finally getting to play. People ask me, he's like, wait, is he a sophomore? I'm like, well, he's kind of a freshman. Mm-hmm. I mean, technically he is a sophomore, but school-wise, he's probably a junior, but, he hasn't had an opportunity. And for him to do that, I root for those kind of stories that people put in so much hard work. You have to be patient, you have to wait. And so, for him to have that has been pretty cool. And with Jaden Epps coming off the bench, too, somebody else asked a question Friday about, I don't know who it was, about the starting lineup. And we well know that Brad does not care about the starting lineup. I think Brad would rather have, today, I don't think RJ's not going to be in the starting lineup. I think he will be. I think Brad would rather have Dane and Jaden and Sincere coming off the bench. I don't think he's going to mess with it. I don't think it's time to. Do you?
No, I definitely don't. And I know that, like you said, Brad likes to know what he's getting out of that bench. Feel like he has a punch and a pop with those guys that he puts in. I just feel like that second unit's starting to develop an identity where they know when Dane's in, you got to feed the big man in the post. When Jaden Epps comes out, he's going to be a scorer. He's going to look for his. Ty, obviously, is someone that can just do a number of different things as a Swiss Army knife. And Sincere's that energy guy and gets into people defensively. So have those guys start to figure out, and Brad's talked a lot about, guys finding their roles and settling in. I think when you move the pieces around so much, if you were to react to one game and say, oh, let's start this guy instead, then you're interrupting the process of getting comfortable and settling into those type of roles. So I agree. I'm with you. I think that sticking with that, I think he likes what he's getting out of those guys off the bench right now. And I think that for those guys to be able to be reliable, if they can step up and really give Illinois that punch in the second unit, that would be big today against a Virginia team that has a lot of depth. And one more note as far as Dane goes, I think this is a different challenge. Like I mentioned, their backup big man, 7'1".
Yeah, that's a lot different. Here we go. More Illini fans here.
I think he's going to get challenged more around the basket with his finishes. You said like a lot have been close range, a lot have been against guys that are smaller than him or like size. How does he handle that if he is against a 7-footer? Does it now pulling him away from the basket, driving by him? Stuff that we're kind of imagining against a Hunter Dickinson, Zach Edey type of
No
matchup.
doubt. And it's nothing against Dane. If the shot's there, he's been able to create. I've been impressed with his ability and his footwork around the basket to create kind of his own shot there and kind of go ISO and 101 there, with the big man. So we'll see how that plays today. As Derek says, bench points will be a big key for the Illini, and they have done really well off the bench so far this year. All right, Derek, we mentioned earlier on this game is a pick'em here in Vegas. How are you feeling? Virginia was favored yesterday on the opening line, I believe. Does Illinois come out of here with the main event belt title? They showed it on Friday night in the arena. It's actually pretty cool, like a wrestling belt. I mean, it's a lot cooler than like some trophy, you know what I mean? I guess the bragging rights trophy is ginormous, like 9 feet tall. But like, hey, if you can win a belt, it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's very Vegas. I love it.
I love it, man.
And it's a hard one to pick. Virginia's a tough team. Impressed me with what they showed against Baylor. On the Illinois side, I still think this team's going to be a bit of a roller coaster. I think they're going to ride some highs and lows, even within that game against UCLA. The one thing I love is just the defensive energy, how tenacious they are there, disruptive. And if they can have Virginia have to try to play their game, I think that would really make them uncomfortable, and we'll see if they can get that done today. So at the end of the day, I like Illinois' defense. I like that Terrence Shannon's going to be the best player on the floor. And I have Illinois capturing the belt, 68-64.
Okay, I'm gonna go a little higher scoring, and I do think it's probably one team in the 60s. I'm gonna pick Illinois because what they showed me Friday night impressed me. I did not pick them Friday night, and they proved us wrong. Neither of us picked them.
I was wrong as well.
Night. So we'll ride the orange and blue here. I am gonna go 73-69. I think Illinois will walk out with the belt and take that back to Champaign. I'd love to see Brad Underwood wearing the belt, like getting on the plane tonight. Wouldn't that be cool?
That'd be awesome.
That would be like an iconic shot. Let's make that happen if Illinois wins. Illinois Media, the creative media services there, they do a great job with that. All right, what do you guys got on the site here as we are leading up? I know Joey at Michigan yesterday. Yeah. Andy Olson was there from our shop from a close win. We had the tough assignment of watching the game out here at the Stadium Swim. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah. That was our one day of non-workout here.
I had to take the sweatshirt off, then put it back on later in the day. Had to hit our minimum.
Yes.
We did. And, as far as on the side, I got my 3 keys in the pick, full breakdown of today. Still got coverage from Friday where Jeremy had a notebook talking about Sincere's impact. I wrote just kind of big picture thoughts of Illinois flashing the potential to be a heavyweight in college basketball. They win this game, you'll be a top 10 team. We know this team has tons of talent. It's about them clicking early on. If they're going to do that, they can legitimately be one of the best teams out there. So I wrote about that. And then Joey had full coverage from Michigan. Heartbreaking loss there, but
tough.
A lot more of a game than I would have expected, so kudos to them on that.
No doubt about it. All right, for Derek, I'm Bret. Tune in after the game. We will stream Brad Underwood's full post-game press conference. They had some players in there on Friday night as well. I would assume they will do that once again on these same digital channels on our social media pages, Twitter, Facebook, where you're watching right now. You can tune in after the game, and we will bring you that press conference live. Enjoy the game, everybody. We are heading over to T-Mobile Arena. Tip-off at the top of the hour. Enjoy.